text is Luke chapter 21, verses 1 through 38. Our focus is Luke 21, verses 5 through 13, and verses 20 through 28. Our key verse, and when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. And that's Luke 21:20. The application, the student will prepare for the physical return of Jesus to the earth. Searching the text, the temple destroyed, Luke chapter 21, starting with verse 5. And as some spake of the temple, how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts, he said, As for these things which ye behold, the days will come in which there shall not be left one stone upon another, that shall not be thrown down. And they asked him, saying, Master, but when shall these things be? And what signs shall there be when these things shall come to pass? Early signs, verse 8. And he said, Take heed that ye be not deceived, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ. And the time draweth near. Go ye not therefore after them. But when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified. For these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. Then said he unto them, Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And great earthquakes shall be in divers places, and famines, and pestilences, and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven. But before all these they shall lay their hands on you, and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. And it shall turn to you for a testimony. Later signs, verse 20. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out. Let not them that are in the countries enter thereunto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, the seas and the waves roaring. Men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up, and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the reading of God's Word this morning? Now, the title of our lesson is the beginning of the end. Many people think this is the end of Jesus' time on earth, which it is, but that's not what he's talking about here. He is talking about the end of the time of the children of Israel being the only ones that are favored of God. He's talking about the time when the Gentiles will be given the opportunity to come to Christ. But then he's talking about also the end of all time. All time. Not just the time of the Gentiles, not just the time of the Jews, not just the time of man on this earth. All time will cease. And I don't know how your lives were growing up, but when I was growing up and I was in church and in Sunday school and sitting under the preaching of the gospel, many people avoided talking about Revelations and talking about any of the end time information. They avoided it, they wouldn't talk about it, and they wouldn't discuss it with you, and they would encourage you not to read it. I had one Sunday school teacher tell me, we don't read in Revelations. I said, why? Because I don't understand Revelations. I said, if you read the Bible, you should be able to understand it. And he said, well, I'm afraid of the end times. Are you afraid of the end times? Should you be afraid of the end times? If you're a Christian, you shouldn't be. But if you are not a Christian, yes, you should. You should be terrified Jesus was trying to relate to his disciples and his apostles that were there and all the other people that were gathered around in the temple and in the mountain where he talked about these things, he was trying to let them know that he knew what was about to happen. And that not only the end of Jerusalem was coming, the tearing down of the temple was coming, but the end of the world was on its way. It all really hung on how you perceived it. Now, I was reading through some of the comments of our commentator here who wrote this, and I kind of had to disagree with some of this stuff. This is not metaphors. These are not metaphors. These are prophecies. And Jesus makes a statement here when he's talking about this. All things come together. When Jesus says it is finished, in just a few short weeks we get into that part of Sunday school, when Jesus is hung on the cross and he said it is finished, what was he talking about? He's talking about the prophecies, the work that was to be done, setting up things, setting those things in place, allowing for every person to be saved and have salvation. But many people misunderstood and took it that he was talking metaphorically. Well, this isn't something that's going to really and truly happen. Because if you go into the first part of this study that we have here, it's not to skip over the widow's mite and these things. When we talk about the widow's mite, we're talking about as they were entering into the temple, the disciples noticed that people were coming in and putting their offering in the offering plates or in the offering boxes. And these men of great wealth were coming in, and they were putting a tenth in their offering. They were just putting in their offering of what they had. And this widow comes in and she puts in 2 mites. And Jesus asked them the question, who was better blessed here? The ones who gave the tenth, which is asked for, or the one who gave the 2 mites, which was all they had? And some people might say, well, I give all I can to God, but do you? Do we give all we can to God? Do we give what God asked for us to do? If we gave what was required of us, Brother Hillard, I don't know that we would truly say we gave what we're supposed to. Everybody thinks about giving, we talk about money. We talk about money. But we have to talk about time. Give unto the Lord the things of the Lord's. Render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, but render unto God the things that are God. I think we covered that last week. But if we render unto God the things that are God's, well, Jeff, that's going to take up a lot of my time. My time. If you're a Christian, you don't have any time. That's time God gives you. That's His time. What are you doing? And that's what that means. But they're talking, these disciples are walking in, they were looking at, they were amazed at the building. They were just looking at the building, saying, man, these tithes and offerings that these people are giving, look what it's built. Look what it's done. Now, I believe our church is one of the prettiest churches, small churches around. It's a gorgeous church. I love it. I've loved it ever since I started coming over here. It's a beautiful place to worship. And it's a great thing that the people of God that are in this church have done as giving us a wonderful place to worship. Just like the temple they were worshiping in then in Jerusalem was a beautiful place to worship. It was well maintained. It had beautiful trappings and beautiful stones and all these things sitting around that were wonderful to see. And they were just amazed, and they were looking around when they had the most wonderful gift of God staring them in the face every single day. But because He wasn't just this beautiful, wonderful thing that they thought they should look at, they got a little past Him sometimes. He got amazed at the temple. And Jesus calls them out on it. He says, all these things that you're looking at, one day soon, there will not be one stone sitting on top of another. Not one. Everything will be leveled out. And all of this wonderful stuff that you see will be gone. And the people here will be killed, be slaughtered. And those that live in Judea and the surrounding areas, they'll be run to the hills, and those that can't get away will be taken captive and hauled off to foreign countries. And the reign of the Gentile will begin. But don't worry about this stuff right now. There's going to be wars and rumors of wars. There's going to be earthquakes in dire places. Diverse places, diverse places all over the world, there's going to be earthquakes. And nations are going to rise up against nations. And people against people. And even in households. Fathers against sons. Mothers against their sons and daughters. They're going to be split apart. Torn apart. Torn asunder. Anything clicking to you yet? Is any of this starting to click with you yet? What kind of state is our country and our world in right now? Now, I'm not preaching end times because I'm not a preacher. But I want to call your attention to some things to be paying attention to. What's going on around us right now? We've got a war going on. There's always a war going on. I don't remember a year that went by in my whole entire 57 years that there wasn't some kind of war going on somewhere in the world. I don't know if we always participated in it, but there was always somebody fighting with somebody. And I know some great big earthquakes that have happened, and some tsunamis coming off the earthquakes. I know Mount St. Helens erupted, blew up half the country, it looked like one time. Volcanoes in other countries. Places around the world that have been wiped out by the sea. We've had pandemics and epidemics of things come along and kill off a large number of people. But what does Jesus say about that? Don't worry about that stuff. Don't worry about that. That's not more important you need to be worried about. Because those are the things just pointing there. And we skipped over it in our out loud reading, but in your study, Jesus says, the fig tree, when it starts putting on leaves, is that not a sign of summertime? Is that not a sign that the summer's coming? Okay. When it loses its leaves and the fruit's all gone, is that not a sign when the fall and winter time is coming? Yeah, it is. Does that bother you? It's just another day, right? Just another week, just another year has passed. But the worst part is what he says to them about people. When men's hearts turn from God, that's the scary time for me. When men's hearts turn from God. Because I'm not worried about the earthquakes and all that kind of stuff. If I die in an earthquake, that's God's will. He was waiting. He was just going to say, okay, Jeff, this is how you're going to die. You're going to be killed in an earthquake. But what bothers me about it is I've got loved ones out there that are lost and they won't even listen. They won't even talk to you about God. I run into perfect strangers out there that will not even have a conversation about God. I say, I don't believe in it. How can I believe in someone, some supreme being that lets the earth get in the condition that it's in? That's not God's fault. The condition of our families, the condition of our towns and our cities and our states and our nation and our world is not God's fault. Quit blaming Him. That's what Jesus is saying. There's going to come a time when you're going to blame God for everything that's going on. For everything in this world that happens, you're going to blame God, and it's not God's fault. Because we've done told you about it. I believe Daniel said something about it. I believe Isaiah said something about it. I believe Elijah said something about it. And Jesus Christ Himself has foretold it that it's going to happen. I don't like it. Is there something I can do about it? Yes, there is. I I can share the love of Jesus Christ one with another. And that's about all I can. And I can pray. I can pray. There's coming an opportunity. There's coming a time when all the opportunities that Jesus Christ is talking about will come to an end. Now, I've had some people tell me that the time when the Jews were being persecuted by the Nazis and the Germans and all them, well, there was the end times right there. The Jews, they got what they deserved. Huh? There was no difference in the way they got treated then than when they got treated by the Romans. And the way the Gentiles treated them, way back. But it's going to get worse for them before it gets better. It's going to get worse for them before it gets better. And here we want to ally ourselves with the Jewish nation, knowing what's going to happen to them. And there's no reason why we can't. But we need to understand, when God sends His wrath upon a people, that's His will. And He's after the Jews because the Jews rejected His Son. But it's not just the Jews He's after. It's everybody that rejects His Son. The time of the Gentiles are now. The time of the Gentiles are now. Well, how can you say that, Jeff? How long did the Jewish nation have to accept Jesus Christ? How long did the Jewish nation have to accept Jesus Christ? Well, they only had Him for 33 years, Jeff, that's all. No. Think again. Think again. When were they established? When were they established? When God said to Abram, He called him Abraham, your people shall be my people, and I shall be their God. That's when. That's when. And the Comforter's coming. Thousands and thousands of years, the Jews knew what was fixing to happen to them, what was going to happen to them if they didn't straighten up and fly right and follow after God. And when they rejected Him, as we read last week, they rejected the stone, then we as Gentiles had our opportunity to accept Jesus Christ and be God's people. Those of us that will accept Him. And when the time of the Gentiles is done, when we no longer accept Jesus Christ as a people, that great falling away that is on its way, that's when we'll see the signs in the heavens. That's when we'll see the signs on earth. That's when we'll start to see these come to pass. And then, as He says, look to the heavens. Look for my coming. Look for me to come back and bring about destruction and all this. But the problem, Jesus realized the people He was talking to couldn't see it. They were only thinking about themselves and what was ahead. They wanted to say, well, you're with us. How can that time be when you're right here with us? How can it be, Jesus, that we're to look for you again and you're still here with us? Where are you going? Where are you going? Are you leaving us? Are you forsaking us? I thought you said you'd go all the way with us. Jesus is trying to prepare them, and all they could see was what Jesus was doing right now. I don't know if they had turned a blind eye. The reason I mentioned that about Revelation is because too many people refuse to read about Revelations because it makes them feel bad. It makes them feel bad that the end of time is coming. And I've had people tell me, I pray that I am not here when the end of time comes. I've had people tell me, I hope that I am here when the end of time comes. I know what I pray for. I pray for my lost loved ones. Because it doesn't matter whether it's today, tomorrow, or 1,000 years from today, there's going to come a great falling away of the people of God. They're going to put away God. And everything, as we know, will be destroyed. And then it's too late for your loved ones, my loved ones, our friends, co-workers, perfect strangers. Hell is the only place that's getting bigger because heaven has already been set in its size. The disciples didn't understand that Jesus was about to leave them. He was going to come back for a short period of time, then he was going to leave again. All they could see was, we are right here. And for those of us that are saved today, this is what we see. Jesus, you're right here. You're right here. I've got my calling made and my election sure when you're coming. But everybody out there, it's not in church. It's not doing what God had them. They don't know who Jesus Christ is. They're condemned. They're condemned without Him. So instead of saying, come, oh come, Emmanuel, come on down. Come get us, take your children home. We need to be going, y'all come. Y'all come. Because Jesus is coming soon, you better hurry. Like Noah in the ark. The rain's coming. Come on. Y'all got any questions or comments? I know that's kind of a little bit out of whack, but it hit me kind of hard, Brother Johnny.